Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I just want to thank y'all for being here, and I'm honestly just gonna kind of jump right in. This video is going to kind of go over my thoughts and whatnot on Ecclesiastes chapter 4 through 6. I don't know, this one kind of feels a little bit different. I hope and pray that if this video, or if you're watching this video, that this helps you, whether it be, I don't know. I just pray that it helps you. I don't have to go into detail, but I definitely feel like a sense of urgency with this one. And just really quickly, I've been super busy and trying to find time to do all the things that I am now going to have to find time to do. I'm been busy in trying to find time to do all the things that I now have to do with the time that I have. So, without further ado, I'm going to do this one the same way that I did the last video, just kind of read a little bit and then talk about it and read and talk and back and forth. So I'm reading out of the NLT version, and this is Ecclesiastes, and we're going to start with chapter 4. So it says, "Again, I observed all the oppression that takes place under the sun. I saw the tears of the oppressed with no one to comfort them. The oppressors have great power and their victims are helpless. So I concluded that the dead are better off than the living. But most fortunate of all are those who are not yet born, for they have not seen all the evil that is done under the sun. Then I observed that most people are motivated to success because they envy their neighbors, but this too is meaningless, like chasing the wind. Fools fold their idle hands, leading them to ruin. And yet, better to have one handful with quietness than two handfuls with hard work and chasing the wind." So, like I said in the first video, I've kind of been like sitting in Ecclesiastes for a little bit, and just throughout some of the things that I've experienced over the last couple of days, it's almost like right on time. So to me, one of the biggest things that sticks out to me in the beginning of chapter 4 is how the writer is saying that in verse 3, "But most fortunate of all are those who are not yet born, for they have not seen all the evil that is done under the sun." That is just like, I don't even really know if I have the words, like, because like our life, like ultimately, like everyone is suffering like something, right? Like everyone has hardships, everyone has hard times, everyone has loss, everyone has to go through grief. Like there are emotions and things that we're all going to experience, within reason. Like not everybody has the same like life, obviously, but where it says the dead are better off than the living, like obviously because they're not necessarily like here to experience all of the like crazy stuff that we have to experience. And it's just wild to think that like the writer is basically saying that like people that are not here yet are better off than the people that have been here. Now life is a gift. I'm not saying anything like I'm just reflecting on scripture. I completely think that life is a gift. I think that you can make like, you have to appreciate the things that you have, the people that are around you. And what I've learned over the last couple of years is my response to things is going to, my response is really the only thing that I can control. I can't control another person. I can't control what they do, what they say. But I can control how I respond. And I can control my emotions, or at least like what I do with them, right? So whether it's journaling, praying, I don't think everything requires an immediate response. I think it's wise to sit sometimes and think about what you're going to say, whether it be to a person, a spouse, a loved one, whoever. It's wise to sit sometimes, depending on the topic and the subject, and think about your response before you just respond. So there's definitely a lot that like this is later on in chapter 5, but there's a lot that God has really like taught me over the last couple of years about just like listening. In my past, especially like growing up, I used to always, because I was a class clown too. So like I have a pretty quick, like witty response to things a lot of times. And that is not always necessary. And like, I don't know. I've learned to listen a lot more, thankfully. So that has been really good for me. And then verse 4, when it talks about like people being motivated like by like the success of their neighbors, like you never know what somebody did or didn't do to get what they have, or you don't know someone's like full story. So I think it's easy for, this earring is getting on my nerves. I think it's easy to like want the next best thing, or like look at what somebody else has, but like you didn't live that person's life. Like you don't know how long they were praying for a certain thing, or to get out of a situation that they're in. So it's like, I don't know. I can't imagine like working just to like outdo somebody. Like that has to be tiring, which is the whole purpose of it, chasing the wind. Like that, it's not going to get you anywhere. And I'm sure there are a lot of people like that. And again, it's sad. So verse 5 and verse 6, I encourage you guys, if you're watching this video and if this is like really speaking to you, to look up those two verses specifically in other versions. I really enjoyed like just kind of like reflecting on how each version kind of like said obviously like the same thing in a different way. In the Message version for verse 5, I have it written in my Bible here. It says, "The fool sits back and takes it easy. His sloth is slow suicide." And that is just like, I don't know. It just, obviously it's like talking about like laziness, but, and then in the Amplified version for verse 6, it says, I only jot down like bits and pieces of it, but it basically says like it's better to have one handful of rest and patience versus two fists of labor. And it may have said something else. I can't even read my handwriting right now, but and chasing the wind. So I don't know. I think just a lot of this, like meditating on Ecclesiastes, has been so much about stuff. It's been about stuff and wealth and money. And it makes me think about, like things, whether it be material things or clothes or cars. And I've worked since I was like 14 years old. And as someone that rides horses, like that's not, like it's still work, like you have to like clean up after the horse, like you clean their stalls, like, you know what I mean? It's not just like getting a basketball and like going in the gym and like shooting hoops, So like as someone that I feel like I have a pretty good work ethic. I can confidently say that. So as someone that has a good work ethic, like I can't imagine working for, like, I don't want to say mindless things, but for worldly things. Let's put it that way. So I can't even remember exactly when, and I'm assuming I'll get to tell a little bit more about my story later on, but there was a point in time in my life where just like, and I still like do different things and can still, I guess, like move whenever like I feel the Lord giving me another opportunity. But I remember just telling God, like, I will just work for you and like wherever you want me to go, because I was so frustrated with all the just like stuff that was going on in offices and stuff that was going on in like the financial industry. And I guess at the time I didn't really understand it. And I was just like, okay, God, like I'll just work for you because you're the only one that I trust. And like, I don't even understand like why people are doing things this way and like why things are this way. And I was probably super naive, like I guess, like I don't know, whatever. But like, I still obviously like work for God because that was a promise, and like that was something personal that I like prayed about, because I would just have these like jobs and they would just make me feel anxious, and I just like, it was always like I had to do more and more and more, and I worked in sales a lot, and it was like I could never sell enough, and it was just like I'm tired, like literally chasing the wind. Like you know, I had a lot of personal things going on in my life, like a little bit later on into my like mortgage career, if you will, because I was in that industry for maybe like 6-7 years. I don't know. I'll be honest, I think some of the things that I've been through, I've completely kind of like not lost track of time, but I don't really know the time frame of it, just because it's all kind of connected for me. But I was really good when I got into it because I was so passionate about helping people. And like as the economy changed and the world changed, it just became so much more about like me making money for the bank and like doing this for the bank, and we need more money, and this, this, and this. And I'm just like, I'm not willing to like, I'm not gonna not care about people because the bank needs money. Like that just was not my heart posture. I completely get, this is just my story. Like I'm not telling anybody what to do, or anybody that does work in banking or does work in the financial industry. Like I get it. People got to do what they got to do. But for me, that was just not where I wanted to be long term. Like I really enjoyed helping people when rates were low, and it just really became more of like a headache and like a mini panic attack, me going to work each day. And I would literally get anxious like when my boss would call, and I obviously am no longer doing that. So hopefully that kind of ties into like the verse 6, better to have one handful with quietness than two handfuls with hard work and chasing the wind. That is just like really comforting for me, because we all need money. We all need groceries. We all need gas. Like we all need a car. Like there's just, these are needs that they're basic needs that we all do need. And then some of us like to live different. So it's, to me, I think it's very easy to get caught up in like just working nonstop for these things that you desire. So for me, I have just kind of gotten really comfortable asking God, like, okay, God, like I need this and I need you to make it happen. And he does. Like, I don't say it like that, obviously, but just without being all like personal, I've just really been able to see him do that. And that has been really, really cool. So moving on. So verse 7, it says, I observe yet another example of something meaningless under the sun. This is the case of a man who is all alone without a child or a brother, yet who works hard to gain as much wealth as he can. But then he asks himself, who am I working for? Why am I giving up so much pleasure now? Is it also meaningless? And y'all, I can read. And one day I will just be reading fluently, but it's fine. We're moving on. So it is all so meaningless and depressing. Two people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help, but someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Likewise, two people lying close together can keep each other warm, but how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. So this like part of Ecclesiastes is also very special to me. I'm probably gonna say that about everything in the Bible. I'm so annoying, but anyway. So I don't know. Like I just reflect and like think about that. You know, like a man is supposed to provide, right? So if he's just like working nonstop and like provide for who? You know, like if you don't have a family, or to me, it also just, it doesn't have to be just about like men, you know? I mean, as a woman, like I know a lot of times the enemy has really tried to like isolate me. I think because I'm an only child, it's really comfortable, and I'm kind of an introvert at times. So it's also very comfortable. But the reality is, especially, and this is something that I have really learned over the last couple of months. Well, over the last couple of years, but I get reminded of it, and I feel like I've been heavily reminded of it over the last couple of months because we're not supposed to do this alone. And there is a lot of power and just a lot of good that comes out of like believers like gathering together, whether it's coffee, whether it's a Bible study, whether it's a birthday party. Like, and I know that sounds so stupid, but some of you are going to understand what I'm saying. Like, the advantages of companionship, I guess, like in the grand scheme of things, like it's not just talking about marriage. Like, obviously there's advantages in marriage, and there's advantages like spiritually in marriage and prayer and like things like that. But to me, especially being single, like I would not be the same person, or I would not be as strong of like as strong a believer. I don't want to say that. I guess as strong in my faith, maybe, without the people that God has like put along my path. Because I think it's really easy for me to be like, oh yeah, like it's just been me and God, but like that's not really true. Like I don't think that that's really a fair. This is the first time I've ever had to think about it, if you can't tell. But it's like, that's not really a fair statement, you know? Like, yes, it's me and God, but like God has sent me places, and there's been people that have said things to me, and there's been people that, you know, I've had Bible studies with, and even like some of the tough conversations, like I've had some really hard conversations with people. I've had to have some really uncomfortable, this is the truth, this is how I feel, this is what we should or shouldn't be doing, like conversations with people, and they're not comfortable. But as hard as those conversations were at the time, like for the people that I've had some of those conversations with and I'm still friends with them, it just grew our friendship. Like, and I would say 80% of the time, it was just a misunderstanding. Like, and I'm not really an arguer, so I'm not saying like we're just like battling it out in church. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's like we all go through certain things, and we all have like, I don't want to call them like triggers, but you know, like we all have stuff. And so if things aren't communicated to where people are on the same page, then like a lot of things can kind of get misconstrued and whatnot. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. I'm not really a fighter. So that has been really good. And that's also kind of goes with like companionship, I guess, for me. And when it says 3 or even better, it just makes me think about, honestly, for me, I do a lot better one-on-one than in groups. I don't know. I don't dislike being in groups. I just like, I think I'm around so many people all the time, and the people that I'm really close with, like I value my like one-on-one like time with them. And whenever I read the scripture, I always like am reminded about like the third person is God. So like the Holy Spirit has like brought all of us together. And as many times as like the enemy has tried to like harm friendships and harm relationships and just cause like just annoyances and just like stupids in these relationships, like God continues to like bring them back together, and he does it better, and like we end up being closer than we were in the beginning. So and the power of prayer for somebody that is like, y'all, I'm not saying any names on here because this ain't no name dropping channel, but I have a sister in Christ that like, I have maybe like two that I'm specifically thinking about that like, yeah, it's just good. It's real good. So we're going to move on. But yeah, so we're not meant to be alone. And I hope that this channel, even if it's not like right now or like whenever you're seeing this video, even if, I don't know, just, I hope that like you find comfort here. I hope that like, I don't know what, I don't care how many followers I have. I don't care about that. Like I genuinely just know what it feels like to feel alone in like some of your experiences. And to be honest, also in some of your gifts. And I guess like God willing, like my biggest hope for this is that people can just like find like encouragement and community. And I don't know, like people really do make friends on the internet. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I just know that like being alone is not how we get through this. And I can definitely testify for that. So I really hope my words are coming out right. We're going to move on. All right, verse 13. It says, "It is better to be a poor but wise youth than an old and foolish king who refuses all advice. Such a youth could rise from poverty and succeed. He might even become king, though he has been in prison. But then everyone rushes to the side of yet another youth who replaces him. Endless crowds stand around him, but then another generation grows up and rejects him too. So it is all meaningless, like chasing the wind." You know how like when we're young, like we do like really stupid things, but like if we're willing to like change for the better, then we can be successful. That's ultimately like what this makes me think about. But when it talks about an old and foolish king who refuses all advice, this is not to shade anyone's like grandparents or anything, but you know how you have those like older people that like they just won't listen to you, they're very stubborn, and like there's always this like thing, like people get like set in their ways, like as they get older it gets harder for them to change. That is kind of what I think about, if I'm being completely honest. But I think it's interesting too, because I'm sure people may have tried to like help this person along the way and they just refuse all the advice, and so now they're older and they just think that they know everything, and that's just not real life. We don't know everything. But even the younger person is still going to be replaced. It honestly makes you think about politics, which is it's talks about the futility of political power. That's the headline of it. But yeah, everybody just gets replaced in the presidency as the president. Words are hard. I am exhausted and I'm just drinking an energy drink right now because I have to go to work in a minute. So anyway, just go read that. It's good. We're going to move on. So chapter 5 says, "As you enter the house of God, keep your ears open and your mouth shut. It is evil to make mindless offerings to God. Don't make rash promises and don't be hasty in bringing matters before God. After all, God is in heaven and you are here on earth. So let your words be few. Too much activity gives you restless dreams. Too many words makes you a fool. When you make a promise to God, don't delay in following through. For God takes no pleasure in fools. Keep all the promises you make to him. It is better to say nothing than to make a promise and not keep it. Don't let your mouth make you sin. And don't defend yourself by telling the temple messenger that the promise you made was a mistake. That would make God angry, and he might wipe out everything you've achieved. Talk is cheap, like daydreams and other useless activities. Fear God instead." So, this is really interesting too, because it like obviously like making promises to God, like you want to fulfill those, but I think too it makes me think about like, I don't know why it makes me think about like overcommitment. Maybe I experienced this literally a few hours ago. I didn't have to like say no to something, but like the offer was kind of on the table for me to add something else on my plate, and like if I had the time I would totally do it, but I don't have the time. And like, remember I said like I prayed a couple months ago or like a year or so ago about like me working for God. So I feel like anything that I commit to, or even if it's like volunteering, like anything that I'm doing, it's because I know that I am, one, obviously doing it for God. Some of it's fun, some of it's work, some of it's obedience, whatever, right? But it's like I'm committed to doing those things. So like I don't want to add anything else on my plate that is not going to be something that I can give to, like, without being like exhausted and tired and me coming in with my eyes bloodshot red because I had 3 hours of sleep. Because it's not fair to whatever is on the receiving end, because I'm not really giving them from a full cup. I'm not giving them anything from a full cup. I hope that makes sense. So and that's just me and my relationship with the Lord. So I'm not, this is again, just about me. I'm not trying to like make anybody like feel bad or anything, but I think for me, I've learned that, like if I commit to something, I really want to do it. And I actually just had a 4-week class at church that like it wasn't necessary. I'm grateful that I did all 4 weeks, like back to back to back, no problem. But like, there were times where I was like, oh, I would much rather be like riding a horse, like, which is the truth. Like, I don't think there's any like shame in like saying that, because that's genuinely how I felt. But I was like, no, like I committed to this class, like I've got to go to this class. And like, that's what I did. And there has definitely been fruit from me staying in that commitment. But how I even got into the class was out of obedience. So, right. So to me, it all kind of like ties in. It's like, I could have finished the class another time. Like there's other classes. It's a 4-week class that just repeats itself. So I could have replaced like certain classes that I missed, but it would have taken me longer to finish. Like things might not have happened, you know, like it just, without going into like detail, it was definitely beneficial for me to do the class the way I did it. And I also kept a commitment to, honestly, myself, because I was being obedient, because I knew that God was steering me towards a different community. But I got things out of the class, and like things happened in that 4-week time frame that would not have happened if it wasn't done that way. I hope that makes sense. Y'all know that's like my favorite line. So, yeah, like I think it's important to like, if you're gonna, and this is again just my opinion, but if you're gonna make a promise to God, like you want to try to stick to it, you know, because ultimately like he cares for us. And I think too, I have just seen how God has shifted my days and like shifted the time. Like I feel like I keep going off on tangents, so I apologize if this is all over the place. But even yesterday, so the video before this one, I recorded yesterday morning at like 5 a.m. And I made a commitment to myself. I was like, you have got to get up and go to the gym first thing in the morning, because like I never really know how my days are going to go. And I don't want to join a 24-hour gym because that's just not what I want to do. And my gym closes at 10. So sometimes I get out of work at 9, sometimes I get out of work at 8, 8:30, and I never really know. So I would much rather go earlier in the morning, so then I have like time. And for me, I'm always on the go, which isn't a bad thing, but it's like I wake up and I'm rushing to use the bathroom. I'm rushing to like finish getting ready. I'm rushing to go make breakfast. I'm rushing into the gym. I'm rushing home. Like I'm tired of rushing. So I'm trying to like organize my time in life to where I'm not always rushing and I'm not always tired. And I say all that to say, like yesterday, I made the video, I went to the gym, I did not feel rushed, like everything. And the hardest part is like getting up. Like once you're up, like it doesn't even matter, because I was up until like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I actually kind of got to catch up on sleep earlier this morning, before church. But yesterday I got to work, and like on a regular day, on a Saturday, like I would not have taken a break. Like I even told one of our managers, I was like, I'm not worried about taking a break, because it just becomes too much of a hassle. But I was able to take an hour break, and this may sound so stupid, but I came home and I folded all my laundry, and just like knocking that out in like 30 minutes and like dedicating that 30 minutes to it was so meaningful, because I went back to work and I did not get home until almost 1 o'clock in the morning. And the last thing that I would have wanted to do yesterday was fold this mound of laundry that was just like on my bed. So even with me being so busy, I've literally been able to see God like move things around that I know is him moving it around, because our restaurant is like busy. Like there's no like chill hour, 2 hours on a Saturday. Like we're pretty busy, especially on the weekend. So that was really nice. But yeah, so I've noticed that like when I keep it's not like when I keep my commitments to God, like he keeps his commitment to me. Like that's not who God is, because God is faithful regardless of like the mess that we have going on. But like really dedicating my like heart and like mind and like my focus to like doing the things that he's asked me to do, and even when I'm tired, I'm like, okay, God, like I'll do it, but like you gotta help me out. And like he does. It has been the coolest thing to like see and experience. And yeah, so hopefully that will help somebody. And if that's not something that you have experienced, I like encourage you to like challenge God, not in like a hateful way, but like asking him to increase your faith in certain areas, like especially if you're doing it from a pure heart and like a pure desire to like get to know him. Like y'all, I just like, I wish that everybody could experience it. Like that is how passionate I am about it, and how much he's just good. I can't, we don't even have time, and there's just not enough hours in the day. He's really good. So moving on. Verse 8 says, don't be surprised if you see a poor person being oppressed by the powerful, and if justice is being miscarried throughout the land. For every official is under orders from higher up, and matters of justice get lost in red tape and bureaucracy. Even the king milks the land for his own profit. Verse 10, it says, those who love money will never have enough. How meaningless to think that wealth brings true happiness. The more you have, the more people come to help you spend it. So what good is wealth except perhaps to watch it slip through your fingers? People who work hard sleep well, whether they eat little or much, but the rich seldom get a good night's sleep. Okay, I'm going to pause right in the middle of that. Have y'all ever noticed like when you don't have money, like there's nobody around? Like, and when you do have a lot of money, or it is, that to me has been, especially coming from like a finance or financial background, that has been one of the like most eye-opening and truthful like scriptures just in life. And yeah. And I mean, I think too, like for people that give and people that are cheerful givers and like really want to help people, I think it's also eye-opening, like how many people you have around you when you have a bunch of money, or like how many friends and family are, you're the first person that they call when you have a lot of money, and God forbid something happen in your life and you have to change jobs, or like your finances change. I've got to put something in this, y'all. It's killing me. But like, I feel like this is my audience. Like they're my people. They're listening to me. But no, seriously. So like, if something changes or happens in your life where you don't have that same lifestyle, or you don't have those same resources or whatever, then like those people just disappear. It's like they were only there. I gotta move this over. Okay. They were only there for the benefit of being your friend, or the benefit of being your family member, or whatever. And that has been, that makes me sad for some of the people that I know personally. But I think it has been very eye-opening to see like when God strips you of certain things, like other people that were not genuinely there for you go with it. And it is very surreal. It is very hard. And it's one of those very eye-opening, painful, hurtful things. But you have to think too, like, let's say if you make, I don't know, $80,000, $90,000 a year, which I know, I mean, I don't know if that's a lot. I'm not trying to be funny, but whatever. Let's just say you make 80 grand a year, which I'm not here for that. So you're able to pay your bills, you're able to like go out on the weekends and stuff, dinners and blah, blah, blah. And like you have all these people around you, but then let's say you get laid off or something and now you're trying to make ends meet and you're at 35 and like, it's not necessarily about the dollar amount, but like your lifestyle, like if you have a house and a car, like your bills, like your mind has set your bills up to do $80,000 a year things. So now you have to change your entire lifestyle. And I mean, prayerfully that you can keep some of the things that you own, right? And going through that obviously changes you, but you're not able to do those same things. You're not able to go to coffee every other morning with your friends. You're not able to pay for people's lunches or do stuff on the weekend. And it's like, how many people know that you're going through whatever situation you're going through and can help you out during that time? So the more you have, the more people come to help you spend it. I could go on like I could probably talk about that for like an hour, but we're going to move on. Verse 13, there is another serious problem I have seen under the sun. Hoarding riches harms the saver. Money is put into risky investments that turn sour and everything is lost. In the end, there's nothing left to pass on to one's children. We all come to the end of our lives as naked and empty-handed as on the day we were born. We can't take our riches with us. And this, too, is a very serious problem. People leave this world no better off than when they came. All their hard work is for nothing, like working for the wind. Throughout their lives, they live under a cloud, frustrated, discouraged, and angry. Even so, I have noticed one thing, at least that is good. It is good for people to eat, drink, and enjoy their work under the sun during the short life God has given them, and to accept their lot in life. And it is a good thing to receive wealth from God and the good health to enjoy it. To enjoy your work and accept your lot in life, this is indeed a gift from God. God keeps such people so busy enjoying life that they take no time to brood over the past. That doesn't even need an explanation, in my opinion. But for me, I've learned to appreciate the things that God has given me, and I don't know, I've learned to be content. Like, I remember having a conversation, this was a long time ago, with like a coworker at the time, and she was like, I want to be rich. And I was just like, I don't really care about that. I was like, but like numbers don't end, So it's like, at what point are you satisfied? Like if you want to make $100,000, like, okay, great, you did that. The next year, do you want to make 150,000? Like, great, you did that. And it's like, are you just going to keep chasing that each year? Like at what point are you like satisfied in that? And then you're so busy working that you're not even able to enjoy it. I don't want to say an issue with that, but I was kind of reminded of that, like after I moved back in my house, like, and it was in different ways. Like I had people kind of like telling me to rest and just like kind of giving me like, I definitely think like the Lord was using them to say that, but like, telling me to rest and like to kind of sit back and like look at just like how I am now, like sit back and like reflect on like where I've been and the things that I've done. And like, I remember a guy that was like cutting our grass in our neighborhood. He was like really talking about how like you have to sit back and like enjoy the fruits of your labor. And that has always stuck with me because I don't think that that's something that I used to do. I was always very go, go, go. So I'm trying to tie this up. So chapter 6, it says, there is another serious tragedy I have seen under the sun, and it weighs heavily on humanity. God gives some people great wealth and honor and everything they could ever want, but then he doesn't give them the chance to enjoy these things. They die and someone else, even a stranger, ends up enjoying their wealth. This is meaningless, a sickening tragedy. A man might have 100 children and live to be very old, but if he finds no satisfaction in life and doesn't even get a decent burial, it would have been better for him to be born dead. His birth would have been meaningless, and he would have ended in darkness. He wouldn't even have a name, and yet he would never have seen the sun or known of its existence. Yet he would have had more peace than growing up to be an unhappy man. Isn't that so, like, it's kind of harsh, but it's very surreal. He might live 1,000 years twice over but still not find contentment? And since he must die like everyone else, well, what's the use? All people spend their lives scratching for food, but they never seem to have enough. So are wise people really better off than fools? Do poor people gain anything by being wise and knowing how to act in front of others? Enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. Just dreaming about nice things is meaningless, like chasing the wind. So, I think I may have like referenced this in the first video, like talking about how God like gives people like all this money and like all these things. And if you don't have the time to like enjoy those things, or I mean, unfortunately, like some people do pass away and they just have worked all their lives to like give it to somebody else that you don't know what they're going to do with it. So it's just something to think about. I don't know. I feel like I don't want to keep like repeating myself because I feel like I've talked about a lot of this in other parts of the video. But yeah, like I think too, like in verse 3 where it says a man might have 100 children and live to be very old, but if he finds no satisfaction in life and doesn't even get a decent burial, it would have been better for him to be born dead. Like thinking about having 100 kids, which obviously I would assume that that's an exaggeration, but it's like you would want to enjoy your family, you know, like enjoy, like, I don't know. It just makes you think about honestly how miserable that would be. Verse 10 says, everything has already been decided. It was known long ago what each person would be. So there's no use arguing with God about your destiny. The more words you speak, the less they mean. So what good are they? In the few days of our meaningless lives, who knows how our days can best be spent? Our lives are like a shadow. Who can tell what will happen on this earth after we are gone? So that is the end of chapters 4 through 6. I encourage you guys to read this yourself. Yeah. So I guess in my walk, if you will, I have kind of like, I don't want to say I've kind of surrendered. Like I have just surrendered everything. Like God, just do what you want to do. Let me know, you know what you need me to do. Because there just came a point in my life where I was just like, I'm genuinely trying the best I can. And it's just not working. Like, and it wasn't like it's not about being a good person or a bad person, but it's just like, okay, I'm genuinely working. I'm trying to save money. Like, there were just certain things that were just like happening around me and happening in my life. And I was just like, this is just not working. And, you know, I had always believed in God, but like, I just did not, I guess, know how to have an intimate relationship with him or really know that that was like something that I needed to do. And so I have personally just found a lot of peace in just truly surrendering everything to him. And it's something that I do daily, whether it's financial, whether it's a worry that is trying to creep in my mind, or whether it's praying for another sister in Christ, or even asking someone to join me in prayer and help pray for something that I'm worried about. I know, if I'm being completely transparent, I pray a lot of times for how to have harmony with my coworkers, because that is not, my job is not anything churchy. Let's just put it that way. So, learning to like be the bigger person, but also not get walked over, but also like be myself in the mix of all that, and like be a genuine, like real person, not some like fake, like that's not who I am at all, because I wouldn't be able to do that if I tried. It would be horrible. But so I don't know. I just hope that this I hope it encourages you guys to read it on your own. Like, I'm all for sharing and like my point of view and like my thoughts and like whatever, but I just pray that it like encourages you guys to like read the Bible on your own and just like seek the Lord on your own. So yeah, so I guess that is the end of this, and I will talk to you guys later.